I'm going to introduce to you William Medina from Down Payment Resource. As a down payment assistance program specialist for Down Payment Resource, William Medina utilizes his mortgage industry and community outreach experience to build collaborative relationships with homeownership program providers in an effort to raise awareness and usage of their programs among lenders, real estate agents, and consumers. He has an introduction that's one sentence. That was all one sentence. And this is the first time that Down Payment Resource has been with us. So I am confident you're going to learn a lot about this program and what they have to offer. So take it away, William.
Thank you.
Very welcome.
Good afternoon. The curtain call is always an important one, so I appreciate everyone's time. As mentioned, my name is Will Medina. I'm a DPA program specialist. My job is to research these programs, connect with the program providers, and update the information within our database. As for myself, I'm responsible for north of 300 program providers that I touch base with a month to obtain updates on at least my footprint, which is part of Michigan, Indiana, Kentucky, and some of the East Coast states. And we appreciate Realcomp for giving us the opportunity to show you how we bring down payment assistance programs to the forefront in partnership with your MLS. So ultimately, the goal today is for you to leave this webinar with a full understanding of how down payment resource works inside of your MLS and how to access all of the tools and features that we provide for you free as part of that partnership. So just a quick bio, Down Payment Resource was launched in 2008 to solve a problem that drove a lot of people in real estate and mortgage lending crazy. There was no easy way to find, let alone track, home buyer assistance programs. So we stepped in and developed an easier way to connect eligible borrowers with hard to find resources like down payment assistance programs, grants, mortgage credit certificates, and other forms of home buyer assistance programs throughout the country. We provide tools and down payment assistance program information for real estate agents, loan officers, and ultimately the consumers to help everyone find and understand these programs and the solutions for your buyers. We always like to discuss cost, just feel like it's appropriate. Down payment resource is free as part of our partnership, as mentioned with Realcomp. There are no upsells or freemium models, and it's all live and ready to go. We are certainly not here to sell anything to anyone today. We are strictly here to show you how to use these tools, which we enjoy using ourselves. So today we're going to be talking about loans, grants, tax credits, and other programs briefly that can help eligible buyers achieve the down payment faster, cover closing costs, and get them into a home sooner than they would have otherwise been able to. We always like to take a look at the current state of home buyer assistance programs. This graph comes from our homeownership program index report, which we publish quarterly. This is as of Q2 2025. Of all the homebuyer programs out there, 74% are some form of down payment or closing cost assistance. We like to say that's really a catch-all category, and it is important to note that not all DPAs are the same. As an example, 81% have deferred payments, meaning you don't have a monthly payment on that DPA loan for some period of time. 53% are considered forgivable, meaning they are forgiven either in part or in full. And if forgiven in full, they essentially become a grant over that specific period of time. And 51% are both deferred and forgivable. We have other DPAs that are either true grants at closing or are repayable monthly after closing. But today we're also talking about affordable first mortgages and tax credits, or they're also known as mortgage credit certificates, that are available for your home buyers as well. So these programs are virtually everywhere. I understand the infograph shows 1 through 10. Just as a fun fact, Michigan is actually listed number 15 across the country. So a lot of programs are available. Obviously, some markets have more home buyer programs than others, but there's a state housing finance agency in just about every state, and those programs are available statewide. So we like to say that there's literally no county or market in the country where there isn't at least some kind of DPA or form of home buyer assistance. So who offers these programs? Well, we always like to start off with the State Housing Finance Agency, in this instance, MSHDA, who offers a wide array of programs throughout the state of Michigan. We're also talking about state agencies like city and county governments that often have community or economic development departments or housing authorities. In addition to those, we have a number of nonprofits like NeighborWorks, Neighborhood Housing Services, and others that operate in markets across the country, themselves employing varying programs. We also have a lot of employers like municipal governments, hospitals, and universities that may offer their employees some form of down payment assistance. And then there are community action agencies, community land trusts, which we are continuing to see a proliferation of that across the country to meet affordable housing needs. And so many other organizations that are out there trying to open new doors for you, and most importantly, your home buyers. So let's take stock of current DPA trends across the country. We certainly understand that demand remains through the roof. We added 45 programs just last quarter. Our Q3 HPI report will be coming out soon, and I suspect we'll be adding more. Providers are increasing assistance amounts, income limits, and purchase price limits to continue to help more buyers in today's ever-evolving market. And providers are expanding eligible uses of their funds as well as inventory options, manufactured housing, condos, some co-ops, not as much. In fact, a recent study showed that across the country, as I mentioned, there were a total of 45 new programs added just in one quarter. So it's safe to say that new state and local programs will continue to launch in markets across the country, and 81% of all DPAs are funded and available. We understand that there's so much attention on affordability now than in many years, so we are confident when we say that these programs are available and are not going away. Now let's take a look at your market. We went ahead and pulled some figures. We're looking at 85 programs, 76 of which are funded from 63 different agencies. The income limits can go up to 182,000 statewide, potentially higher. If we're talking MSHDA, there's targeted, non-targeted locations as well, so it will vary. Purchase price limits north of 544,000, and down payment help that will range from 3 to 50,000 or potentially higher with an average of 13,000. It's tough to actually pinpoint the average because there are some programs that offer a percentage of the sales price. So if it's 250, 350, right, it'll depend on that. But the average that we see is about $13,000. Now, when we're actually labeling these eligible listings, which I'll go ahead and get into, we are looking at the property specifically to determine that level of eligibility, the location of the property, I should say. Every night we refresh the inventory within the MLS, so the percentage that you see there, 94% of Realcomp listings are eligible for DPA is still current. It's a very well balanced market in terms of how many properties would apply, so that still remains the case. Yes. Great question. So most programs, if they have an asset limit, they'll go ahead and let you know, but they may exclude retirement funds as that. But anything else, depending on the threshold, they will have to use some of that. The point being that they want to use those funds to help as many buyers as possible. So if they have access to something, they may. But that's something that program providers will always put within their guidelines. Asset limit, after that, you're going to have to contribute. So some common program requirements, all pretty basic and all pretty universal. As an example, they're only for owner-occupant buyers. You cannot be a real estate investor purchasing a property. However, some 2 to 4 unit properties do qualify, right? So long as one of those units is owner-occupied. So that's one way that we're seeing program providers open up inventory options. Always important to read through those guidelines because if you are going to be renting those units, there are some stipulations depending on what government source of funding as to how much rent you can actually charge them. But that opens up additional inventory. Yes, they are not for vacation homes, although in some markets, as I mentioned, 2 to 4 unit properties will qualify. They still require some minimal investment from the buyer. So we're talking about some form of contribution, like 1% of the purchase price, maybe $500 to $1,500. It's also important to recognize that they're also investing time. Many of these programs require you to complete homebuyer education, which nowadays can be done online, right, at their leisure. They don't have to go in person, but we always take stock of that buyer investment. It's not just monetary, it's also the time. And of course, these programs are not typically for cash buyers. So we're talking about buyers having to finance their home by securing a first mortgage. Now, with each of those in mind, I just want to run through quickly the different types of home buyer programs, but I don't want you to feel like this is going to be the last time you might see this. We host quarterly webinars. I host one specifically called DPA 101, where we go more in depth on the different types, but I at least just wanted to give you a glimpse of what these programs look like. So down payment assistance programs are by far the most common type of homebuyer assistance in most cities. As I mentioned, every state has a housing finance agency, and just about all of them have some form of DPA program, as well as local government nonprofit program providers. They are typically grants or silent seconds that offer down payment assistance of several thousand to tens of thousands to eligible buyers. So just starting from the top, let's take a look at grants. Those, we would categorize those as gifts that do not have to be repaid. Repayable seconds, those are provided at closing and they may accrue interest, and the loan could range from 5 to 30 years. Some of that is based on the program provider. Some of that is based, like for home funds, right? They have an affordability framework that they follow depending on the amount of assistance that you provide. Then we have what's called deferred or a silent second, where repayment of the original amount is postponed until one of several events occurs. And commonly, that's when the borrower sells, refinances, or there's a change in occupancy. So they may not have like a 30-year term. So they could possibly stay in that house for 30 years and not until they sell the home would they have to pay it back. With respect to refinance, we're seeing more program providers allow for rate and term refinance, but they will not allow a cash out refinance. They will recapture funds on that basis. And then in terms of change of occupancy, many of them will require a certificate of occupancy be given back to them every year just to make sure that you're actually occupying that home as your primary residence. And lastly, we have our forgivable seconds, where some or all of the original assistance, often a percentage of the loan is forgiven each year for a defined number of years. And as an example, a DPA program that's forgiven 20% per year over the course of 5 years. That's an example of something that comes along with home funding. And an example of one of these programs will be MSHDA's 10K DPA loan, 0%, no monthly payment. However, it is 30-year deferred. So at the end of that term, it would have to be repaid. Next, we have our affordable first mortgage programs, an additional option, of course, that is available through a state or local housing finance agency. An example would be MSHDA's Michigan Home Loan. Now, the most common benefits you see with these programs are below market interest rates, reduced mortgage insurance costs, and allowances for higher loan to value. An example, Fannie Mae's HFA Preferred, or HFA Advantage, which offer reduced mortgage insurance all below standard conventional product with higher LTV. And you can typically combine these programs with down payment assistance and tax credits from these same organizations. In the case of MSHDA's Michigan Home Loan, it can be combined with the 10K DPA loan program, but it cannot be combined with the mortgage credit certificate. So they will clearly state that out. And then lastly, we have the mortgage credit certificate, which MSHDA offers this program. Not many states offer MCCs, actually. And what it is a federal income tax credit of up to $2,000 per year, and eligible buyers must get the MCC prior to closing and then get to use it every year for the life of their mortgage. The tax credit helps offset part of your mortgage interest costs, and you still get to deduct the rest of the mortgage interest you paid each year. Okay, so now I'm actually going to transition us into more of a live demo so I can show you how these tools look within your MLS. Okay, stay logged on. Okay, so just as an overview, we're integrated directly into listings in our CO3. And we're talking about on-market listings, single-family, detached, condo, townhomes, co-ops where relevant, 2 to 4 unit properties, manufactured homes. And it's important to note that there is no listing field. Like you don't have to input anything if you're putting in a listing. We automatically do this every night. So like if you went today and you put a listing that would qualify for it, it wouldn't be flagged today, but it will show up tomorrow. So it happens every night. So let's go into Matrix. And of course, it's important to read all of this, but we'll read later. I don't want to, I know our organization always says, read those things. So let's actually go to search. Just do a quick search. Okay, so I am going to choose okay, chose it. Sorry. Active listings. Let's go 250 to 350. And since we are in Oakland County, let's try Oakland County. And a neat trick that I learned today is you can also click down here, down payment assistance, yes or no, and it will populate the listings that would qualify. So in any case, if you don't mark that, it would populate every listing, but it's just kind of niches it down a little more. So thank you to Ken. And then we will go to results. Okay. And starting from left to right, if you see this little down payment button, that means that it's met certain criteria for the programs. All you need to do is click on it. And that will lead you to a landing page that will tell you that this property qualifies for X number of programs up to X amount. These are results that you can save. You can email back to yourself or you can email out to a client. And what we do is we then provide you the different types of programs. So starting with MISHDA's at the top, we also give you the current status. As you can see, the first gen program has a wait list. If it's out of funds, it would actually mark it red as out of funds. It gives you a quick overview, what are the benefits of this program. And if you want to learn a little bit more, you just click next steps. And then that populates all the information that you would pretty much gather from looking at the website. However, we've packaged it into a more condensed version so that it's easily accessible to you. And the reason why we put participating lenders at the top is because that's our number one question whenever we're talking about home buyer assistance programs. I can be familiar with these, but is there a lender in my area that can assist me with them? So in some cases, the organizations such as MISHDA will let you know these are participating lenders. Yes, sorry. Yep, automatically. So every night we'll go ahead and flag that. So the following day, if the listing qualifies, it'll have that down payment button. Great question though. Thank you. Yes. I'm sorry, I couldn't. My apologies. NACA, if it's in here, yes. I don't know that we have it listed in here, but yes. Okay. No, thank you for bringing that to my attention. I can certainly ask about NACA. I know there are certain proprietary programs that if a lender offers DPA, that may not be listed here. We strictly stick to like public facing information. So MISHDA would be one of those if it's a nonprofit, but I can I can connect with you afterwards and follow up with you. Of course. So yes, next steps, lenders, approved education providers. The reason why that's at the top is because in many cases you have to complete homebuyer education prior, sometimes to applying for homebuyer assistance. So it's good to just get ahead of that. We also give you links to the guidelines, to the provider's website, and then ultimately who the provider is so that you can connect with them. Yes. Yes, absolutely. So once you get your agent line view, you'll look for that little green money sign button, and then you click on it. It'll just refresh it, and then that'll pop up the page for you.
So on the full flyers right beneath the photo.
Yeah. That's a good question. Yeah, I can actually take you into Down Payment Connect, which is another tool that is accessible to you through your dashboard. It's actually right down here. So you'll click on it. And speaking specifically to connecting with home buyers, we've created a specific link for you to embed in your website. And I've got some examples, some other people and like what they've done with marketing, created banners. But to your point, if you just wanted to search for programs by name, you can click on search programs by name. And then that'll give you access to a directory where you can then, look for programs. I believe so. Whoa. Sorry, that's my dog. Shouldn't have been there, but it was. No, so if you're sharing, like say you're sending a listing out to a buyer, I'll show you this way. Whenever they open it up on OneHome, off to the right-hand side, they have a down payment button where they can go in and look for it themselves. Otherwise, if you're generating a list, there's an ability for you to actually email something to them. So even in the search feature, it should be in there, but I can touch base with you afterwards just to make sure that I have that for you. I believe you were. Yeah, great question. Some programs allow you to complete homebuyer education and they'll give you like a 2-year timeline. So it's kind of good for that long. Some of them have specific HUD counselors that they have to go in and meet with them. And then based on qualifying criteria, they will then recommend them to a lender and so on. But yes, in most cases, you can complete it prior. But that's why we try and put that information up front. So if they have to go meet with them first, you'll know. Household income, but it also depends on the program provider, right? Some might use 80% AMI, 100, 120, 140. So it really depends also on where they're lending. There might be targeted areas where the income limits there are higher just to promote homeownership and economic growth. So it'll depend on the actual program, but there are those out there. Yes. Yes, sir. So if they need specific lenders, we'll put it in the preferred lender list. But in many cases, that's just a program provider saying, hey, we've worked with these lenders, so they know our program. But some providers, it doesn't matter. Some might tell you they have to have a brick and mortar in the state of Michigan, meaning, they can't use online providers like say, Quicken as an example or something. But in many cases, they will tell you you have to use these lenders or it's open to any lender, so long as they can originate the loan in their back office. One other thing I want to show you here is obviously you have your landing page link, which you can embed. You have your marketing resources. Just talking. And here you'll have your graphics library. So, if you want to use anything on social media, email, newsletters, website. Some customizable flyers. And then I did want to show you, as I mentioned, just some examples, people and what they've done. So this is a legit website. I know it looks a little interesting. But when they click check your eligibility now, it then leads the interested party to this link. Based on the information that they're entering, they'll get a list of programs. That is the same information that then you receive on your end. So that's you lead. So you'll get their name, their email, their phone number, so you can, follow up with them, but you'll also see what they saw. So the different programs. No, I work for a service provider that's integrated into your MLS, but we do offer support for the tool. Yes. Thank you for that question. That's a good question. I was feeling like an employee of Realcomp right now. This would be inside of your, I'll take you back to your dash. So right where it says down payment help, once you click on that, it'll open up Down Payment Connect. Oh, it should open up Down Payment Connect. There we go. And then that link that they use is this one right here. So you would just kind of embed it within your website. And here's another one where they use the banner across the top of the website. And then again here, labeling it, available programs. So all of this is to really help you build your leads. And of course, these leads go directly to you. We do get a lot of hits on our search eligibility tool. So we found agents that have found success, but obviously, we'd love to hear if you get a lead or if you're having a situation where you're working with these programs, if you found success, like what made it a successful endeavor for you. So that's something that we're always interested in as well. How do you mean? I mean, it depends. If you have a program that has specific income limits, I talk to a lot of providers. 80% AMI in Massachusetts is very hard. Yeah. Right. Well, I think that's why we always like to say that the important thing is that they have to qualify for a mortgage. So if you can't secure a mortgage, it certainly won't work. But there is an interest on behalf of providers when they increase limits, when they increase maximum purchase amounts. It's them recognizing that in order to create more homeownership opportunities, right, they have to meet the market demand. So sometimes even those household limits go up, obviously focusing on, generational homes. It'll depend. And I think as the market continues, to kind of roll on, as I mentioned, providers are always making adjustments to everything. Yeah. And one thing that we love to point out is we have a Facebook group, Down Payment Insiders, literally 14,000 strong. That number keeps climbing. You're talking about lenders, real estate agents, housing providers, anybody that is within the housing affordability sphere. They're always engaging. They're always connecting. Again, the number one question, I'm in this market. Are you a lender in this market? How do we connect? So that's a great resource we found. We also post a lot of our content, a lot of our information there. So it's a great way to track the research that we are engaged in. And of course, we always say leverage the experts. I've spoken to a lot of real estate agents today that themselves tell me, hey, I'm doing this groundwork. I'm talking to lenders. That's extremely important that you're reaching out to them and connecting with them. And in many cases, if they're not using a specific program, that's an opportunity to introduce them to a new program to see if they'd be willing to engage in it to originate that program. And of course, reach out to the program providers. They always have trainings for real estate agents. They are very interested in connecting with you. They want to teach you about their product. They want you to be good stewards of their information to go out and help home buyers. And of course, connect with your peers that have experience. I think that's the most important thing as well. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So once you open it up, like where it says next steps, there should be a participating lender list in there. If that's the case, if they need specific lenders, but otherwise it would tell you, you can work with any lender. The program provider is open to that. But 19 programs, that's awesome. Okay. Where is that house located? Oh, Detroit. Okay. Detroit. We always like to say that DPA customers become customers for life. So we certainly encourage you to tell their story. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So in closing, I cannot thank you all enough for the opportunity to be with you today. info@downpaymentresource.com is the best way to reach out to us with any questions that you might have. And obviously, as a partner, I know that there are specific events like refresher trainings where we can kind of connect with you and go over some of these tools again. But thank you. I appreciate you all. I'm sorry? Oh, the report. I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, yeah. I'll put it up for you. It is always on Zoom and it'll take, like I've got mine next month. So it's always each quarter, but I'll put it for you right now. If you go down to education on our website, downpaymentresource.com, that's where we have our live webinars. And we start with grow your first time homebuyer business. Again, as I mentioned, I go through a deeper DPA 101 program presentation. And then we have those darn DPAs, which is really about any pushback regarding the use of down payment assistance programs. So, and it's always updated. So those are current. Yeah. Thank you all.